Well, here we are again. Who's ready to learn some new stuff? It goes without saying that in the world of e-commerce, I think a lot of people think they know best. But the reality is, when it comes to web teachers, gurus, e-commerce trainers, specialists, and more, there can really only be one person who's right. Now, I'm not saying that that person is me, but what I am saying is we are going to use some fact-based, empirical evidence to disprove some of the myths that I've been seeing going around online that I think I should have gotten to a long time ago. Refresh inventory! Some of which you've heard before. You better all be gone by the time I get back. Some of which you haven't. Some that may actually have some truth to them. And some things you've seen in some Facebook groups that are just downright wrong. We're going to be talking about the myths that I've seen floating around online, some of the ones that I've seen offline, but the most important thing of all is we're going to be giving you practical advice that you can use to guarantee an increase in your sales. Hello everyone, my name is Jay Kraft with the Facebook group BOLO RAMA Pickers Lounge, and I'm here today to make some enemies, and maybe a few friends. And the reason I say that is because with all the different people out there trying to teach you things that you can do to increase your sales online, there is going to be some bad advice, and I want to make it clear, bad advice is a lot more expensive than good advice. And no, I'm not here to sell you a course, sell you a program, sell you a training video. None of that stuff at all. Our entire channel is Patreon funded, kind of like PBS. So if you enjoy what we do, or if you want to be a part of our group is completely free. Check out the links down below. Why would I make enemies though, you ask? Well, some of the stuff that we're going to be talking about today may be stuff that you are doing yourself. Just like with my last video when we talked about standardized pricing and how you can increase the amount of revenue that you make on each and every sale without having to spend more money or without having to go to extreme lengths. Today we're going to be covering a few things that you might be doing now, or someone you respect within the community may be suggesting that you do. Now, I don't want to go out on a limb and, name names or anything like that, but it will happen where some of the stuff that I'm going to be talking about today, you will see someone else saying is fact, is evidence, and is something that you should be doing for your business. I can 100% guarantee you that I have triple fact-checked everything that I'm going to be saying to you today, and with the utmost of certainty, everything within this video is true. Before we get into the actual training and myth debunking, it's very important that I stop and I explain a concept that some of you may have heard and some of you may know very well. It's called pigeon logic. Now, you might have seen that tossed out a few times before to try and debunk theories but didn't take the time to research it. Well, I'm here and I'm here to help you out with that. So pigeon logic is a term that was coined when a scientist many years back conducted an experiment with where he had pigeons inside of cages and he would dispense food pellets to the animals. Now, they weren't being starved, they weren't under any harsh conditions whatsoever, but the food would randomly be dispensed to them at random times throughout the day. They were given more than enough food to survive throughout the day, and what would happen is the pigeons would attempt to try and figure out why the food was coming out. They would believe that certain things that they did had an influence as to whether or not food would come out more frequently, to the point where you would see some pigeons stamping their feet on the ground or spinning in circles, even doing head bobs to try and get more food to come out. Now, obviously on our end, we know that none of the actions that they would do could change how the random number generator would work to generate food to come out. But in the mind of the pigeon, they felt that if they did these actions, that they could increase the amount of food that would come out, the likelihood of food coming out, or the frequency at which that food did come out. It even got to a point where certain birds would do very elaborate dances, stomping, bobbing, spinning, and more for minutes on end in attempts to get the food to come out. Now, when something that they did actually worked and food came out, it would confirm for them that what they were doing was correct. But when they tried something and it did not work, they would remove it from their dance routine. Like I said, we understand that nothing that they do would have a bearing on whether or not the food would come out. Now we can take this same type of information and understanding and we can apply it to what we do here on eBay. Certain things do work and certain things don't work, but it's important that because of your individual results trying something out, that you do not let your bias or your expectation for success or our natural human instinct to find patterns in what we do change the reality of some things work and some things don't. Now that you have an understanding of pigeon logic, I feel we should go ahead and step through some of the things that I hear the most here online. One of the most common things that I hear from e-commerce trainers as well as on Facebook groups is refreshing your inventory. Refresh inventory! The basic concept is that if you remove all of your items offline and then relist all of them again, it's somehow going to show a dramatic boost in your sales. The first thing you need to know that any action that you take on your account that's theoretically going to dramatically boost your sales and make sure that items fly out the door, if anyone tells you this, please take it with a grain of salt. Because if this truly did work, every single e-commerce seller, trainer, or guru would have an empty store. They would have no items online whatsoever. Ask to see their URL, ask to take a look at their store, and take a peek at their actual sell-through. Because if it was simply a matter of unlisting and relisting items, they would have nothing left. So what we are seeing when people do this is we are seeing, again, pigeon logic. Items are happening to sell when they get placed back online, and people are drawing a correlation between the two activities. Now, what could really be happening, though? This is important to understand. What could be happening is somebody could have been watching an item, saw that it fell off, went back on again to try and find the item, realized the item was there and thought, uh-oh, I missed it last time, this might be my opportunity to get it this time. Or we could simply have somebody who was interested in buying that item happen to log in and purchase that item. See, because we do not understand the variables at play here, and there is no way to control the variables at play here, we cannot mark this as something that sellers should do. We simply cannot prove that this is something that is going to benefit your sales. Now, you again, like I said, you may have individual results that may vary, and you may say this works every time I do this, it does. But remember, we as humans, we focus our time, attention, and energy on the positives and the successes for our brand, and we will more easily write off our failures. We like finding patterns in what we do. But I do want to talk about the downsides of doing this. If you think to yourself, I have 500 items online, in reality, you probably have close to 100 watchers across all 500 items. Of course, a few of them are going to take the majority of those watchers. When you delist those items, goodbye, watchers. They are gone for good, and you may not ever get them back again. On top of that, anyone who has that listing bookmarked and they are planning on coming back to it, and maybe they aren't watching the item specifically, maybe they don't even have an eBay account and they're buying as a guest. Those who have bookmarked those listings, that URL is gone as well. Now, when I hear that I'm going to lose 100% of my watchers on my store and a trainer is advising me to do that, it really, really concerns me and makes me wonder the motivation behind saying things like this. Now, the intentions may be good, but the reality is the damage that you could do to your account could be very long-standing after such a thing. We also need to take into account fringe scenarios as well. What about the person who's waiting for payday? What about the person whose birthday is coming up, or their friend's birthday is coming up? Or maybe a person who's waiting till they get back from vacation. Be very, very mindful about ending all of your listings and placing them back online. If you're concerned about the rank of your items, there's actually other ways to improve your items' rank that does not require you to take them offline. We will get to those later in this video. One of the other ones that I hear often that hopefully won't require much explanation is vacation mode. You better all be gone by the time I get back. I don't know where this idea came from that by placing your store on vacation mode, whether for half a day or a full day or just for a few minutes and then taking it off, is somehow going to provide a surge of sales to your account, again, is completely false and not based in any type of evidence whatsoever. If, as I said earlier, if it was simply that easy to get a boost in your sales, Every single person would be doing this every 15 minutes to drive all of their inventory out the door, and our stores would have 0 items active. The reason we see this is because when we do use vacation mode, if we get a surge in sales, we immediately want to correlate it to that. But the reality is, if I get a surge of sales on a Monday, a Thursday, 2 days after Christmas, if I get that surge of sales, what do I attribute it to? If I didn't put my store on vacation mode, if I did no other changes to my account, and then poof, all of a sudden, I got a non-seasonal rush of sales from assorted different categories, what do we attribute that to? So we as humans, we want to peg it to something. So what happens is if you've gone on vacation mode often and you see a spike in your sales a couple of times, again, it's pigeon logic, and we simply want to associate the two to make some type of connection in our mind that we had an effect on our store's success. Now, one of the next ones. This is one of the ones that can go both directions. It is my job to make sure that I give fact-based information, so I want to stress that there is some conjecture in here and a little bit of stretching. Not stretching of the truth, but stretching to be able to show that there could be an influence on what you're doing. What we're talking about is we're talking about listing more items. I've heard people say this often: if I list 3 times a week, if I list 5 days a week, if I schedule my listings and list them intermittently, I see a bump in sales. Now, having more items online doesn't necessarily mean that each individual listing has a higher opportunity to sell. We need to look at each item individually. Me listing a t-shirt on Tuesday and listing a sombrero on Saturday have no relation with each other, except for a situation where a buyer has come to my store and they are going through my inventory. If somebody likes me as a seller and they're bouncing around on my store and seeing my other items I have for sale, certainly the number of listings I have could have an influence on that. But me simply listing an individual listing will have no bearing or effect on the rate at which my other items are seen organically through search, nor will having 10,000 unique listings and adding one more affect any of the other stuff that's going on. Now, obviously though, having more items online will increase your total sell-through rate simply because you have more opportunities to sell to more people with more items being online. And I feel that there's a certain level of false equivalency by comparing the two, that by saying listing a new item will boost the sales of all of my other items on my store. And again, I respect if this is something that you do and you feel works for you. Do whatever makes you happiest with your store. Do whatever you feel is generating revenue for you. But it's important though, if you are a trainer, if you are an educator, that you separate opinion from fact. You can have as many opinions as you'd like on what works for you, but if you are putting out facts regarding what people can do to increase their sales, you have to be mindful of what you're doing. Basically, by saying that people should slowly list their items online, I want you to consider the downside of that. Let's say I have 30 items that I'm capable of listing today, but because I am trying your method of gapping my items out, all of these items that could be visible by buyers today are not going to be visible until next week or even the following week, depending on the pacing that you list. All of these items could have more opportunities to sell if they were simply active now. Buyers can't buy items that they don't see, and this is the core reason why I do not teach this to anyone. This next one's a little bit weird as well. I hate to say that. It's the idea that having more watchers on your item is actually going to help your item sell. We have to consider a few factors first: the perception of the buyer and the activity that happens online, as well as the negative effects of having people watching your item that they may not buy. Recently, I got banned from yet another Facebook group for spreading these facts. I do get pushback from people who believe that the things that they are doing are working. And I saw again this group online, post 1, watch 3. And the concept is that you go through and you watch other people's items, and in exchange they come through and watch your items. The idea is that when more watchers are on the item, that eBay will somehow rank the item up or consider the item to be more valuable. The reality is anyone who says that they believe they understand how the algorithm works at eBay is completely full of lies. No one understands how the algorithm works, and it's the same thing when it comes to Google SEO. Understanding that is a multi-million-dollar valued industry to be able to crack that type of code for sort, because you would be able to take your items and jam them straight up to the top of the list. There's a lot of factors that go into rank outside of the number of watchers on an item. However, the buying habits of consumers do vary. If I go to an item that only has one left and there's 50 people watching the item, I'm put into a position of, if I want this item, I must pay this price or someone else may get it. But at the same time, if the item was simply priced correctly, go watch my other video. If it is priced correctly, the item would have sold on its own by now, without the need of having copious watchers on the item. On top of that, we are going to be talking about SIO, seller-initiated offers. It's important that you understand how this new feature on eBay works and how using the Watch 3, List 1, whatever you want to call it, using this method will destroy your ability to use SIO moving forward, as you will be targeting people who have no interest in purchasing your items online. Again, this is another one of those methods that holds that amount of water, but the negative impacts to your account will be greater than any level of benefit that you could possibly gain by having more people who don't want to buy your item watching them. And again, be mindful, if this was something that worked, there would be organizations and teams and companies set up to go through and send 100 watchers to each one of your items. It won't even be that logistically difficult to do. I could code the entire thing in a matter of a few hours to where I could punch in your username, send 100 bots through, have them watch every single one of your items. If it was that easy, everyone's store would be sold out like that. There's a lot of things that you can do to boost your sales online, and unfortunately not enough trainers are actually talking about them. Today I am going to do a basic step through on the things that you can do. Each single item that I talk about today will receive its own video down the line. If you are curious and you want more information on a specific one, I strongly encourage you to join my group, and I also welcome you to come to my live show that I do every Sunday at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. If you jump in there, you can ask any questions you want, and just as well as subscribing to this channel, it's completely free. I would love to have you stop on by, but without further ado, let's talk about the key things that you can do right now to increase your sales online. The first one we're going to talk about today is seller-initiated offers. Basically what that means is there's an algorithm that eBay has on the back end that takes an aggregate of not only your watchers, your views, the length of time the item has been online, as well as a handful of other undisclosed factors, and it allows you to send offers directly to the people who are watching your items online. This is a fantastic tool that no one is talking about using. Look into your dashboard, look into your back end for items that are eligible. Coming soon on the Seller Hub, you will be able to sort by items that have this functionality. And if you're watching this video a little bit later, it's probably already on your back end. Look into SIO. It can make you a lot of money. Now, we talked about a few things that are going to be completely free to do to your store, but there's a couple of things you can do that can actually increase your sales if you're willing to give just a little bit. One of them, it's promoted listings, and I know that eBay is getting a lot of flack for having this functionality. It basically creates an uneven playing field for those who are looking to play ball and give eBay a little bit of extra money for showcasing their items a little more often. This means showcasing them on the sidebar, showcasing them on the carousel at the bottom of the screen, even placing them within Facebook ads for people who have already seen your items online. This promoted listings has a range where you can pay anywhere between 1% and 100% of the final sale value of the item. Now, I have seen some people say that you should use the trending average. And to them I say, why? Why should we use that number? There is no evidence to support that using a higher number will actually be more beneficial than using a lower number. So I say to you, use 1%. Why? Because you're guaranteed additional exposure for your item for the small price of 1%. Within search, if somebody is searching for your item, especially if you deal in a lot of niche items where there may only be a handful of listings available, if you are a part of that group of people who has promoted listings on, guess what? You're going to show up twice in that search. You're also going to show up on the sidebar from time to time as well for people who are watching your type of items. Using 1% on promoted is a fantastic way to increase your sales, and with enough items online, you will actually be able to see the numbers come through. Can I sit here and say that it's a guaranteed sale booster? No. But can I say that it doesn't hurt to have 1% because you only pay for it if an item sells? Yeah. That's really the way to go about it. One of the other things that cost a little bit of money, running a sale online. Now, before you go and run that sale all willy-nilly and just pick a random percentage, what you need to do first is you need to make sure that your items are priced correctly. And if you don't know what I mean by that, you have to go back and watch my last video. If you don't price your items correctly, it's no different than applying a bandage to a 6-inch long wound. Okay? It's going to do a little bit, but it's obviously not the right way to go about it. Going through and repricing your items and making sure that they are competitive within the market is like adding the stitches to the wound first and then going ahead and slapping a band-aid on. And this wound we're talking about, it slows sales. And our goal today, the whole point of this entire video is to boost those sales. Now, what I do personally that I found has worked great for me is that after an item's been on eBay for maybe 6 months, maybe even a year, I've given it an opportunity for it to sell at full price. No one's biting. Now remember though, sales are completely optional, and some people will say, ride it out till the end of time, and if it sells, it sells, and if it doesn't, it doesn't, and they are fine with that. And I'll be frank, I've done that on quite a few items as well, and I've seen some items sell for hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. But at a certain point, I have to ask myself, how much am I willing to pay to leave this online? Each item is roughly costing anywhere between $3 to $5 per year to sit online, and after 5 years, you're looking at about $25 in fees so far. On top of that, that item has taken up space on your shelf. Like I said though, I can go at great length on every single one of these topics, but I recommend doing a 5% sale first, and then about 30 days later taking those same items, doing 10%, 30 days later, same items, 15%, and you go as far as you're comfortable going with your own inventory to be able to get some of those items out the door. Now, as I said though, it is not necessary, and again, we cannot concretely prove that this method will guarantee an increase in sales, but what we can say is that the habituated consumer does enjoy getting discounts on items, and if you present them with an opportunity to get a discounted item, if they are a watcher on that item, eBay may actually serve them an email and let them know the item that they are watching is on sale, which can increase sales overall for your store. Now, when we talk about SEO, we're talking about search engine optimization. And what that basically means in the world of e-commerce is how are your items ranking? And I've also heard people talking about items getting buried, and some people going as far as saying items are simply not displaying and eBay isn't showing them to people. I want to start out by saying there is no merit to the claim that eBay does not want to show your items. If eBay doesn't like one of your items, they'll pull it from the site. It's actually in the terms of service. If an item has been on eBay for over a year with no sales traction and low views, they can pull it without even asking you. They want people to buy your items on the site because they only make about this much money when you list an item, and they get the rest of it when it actually sells. It is their job to sell as much of your inventory as possible. Now, obviously, we talked about promotions, we talked about sales, so there's a lot more dynamics to it, but right now we're talking about SEO. How can you increase the rank of your items? So, as I said before, no one is a guru at this. We can only use conjecture to try and better understand how this works. One of the things that has been speculated as far as what eBay or Google as a whole likes is quality photos. High-resolution photos with a clean white backdrop are the types of images that Google likes serving up to customers. Now, I mentioned Google because 40% of my sales on eBay come from Google. People typing in what they're looking to buy, clicking on the shopping tab, finding my eBay listing, and then boom, coming across and converting and making the purchase. It's just that easy. So we're talking about clean photos. We're talking about accurate titles. Do not stuff your titles with keywords. It does not help. Okay, we call this keyword stuffing. And again, I will make a dedicated video for this. Keep your titles clean and concise. What is the item? What is the brand? What makes this item unique? It could be color, form, shape, size, etc. leave it everything that it needs to find. And when people are able to find your listings more and more visitors come to that listing, Google will value that page higher. Google will see hundreds, if not thousands of people are coming to this page. This page must be close to what people are looking for, and in turn, it will rank up higher within Google. On top of that, go through and make sure your listings don't have typos, spelling errors, or things that could cause customers to not be able to find your listings. And if you need to, consider using keywords that are friendly with keywords that are the category that you are working in. So let's say, for instance, you are selling candles. Okay, the word votive is a word that's used in association with candles often. You can consider adding that somewhere within the context of your description. Maybe not necessarily in the title because we don't want to dissuade anyone. But if an item has functionality, that should be included somewhere within the listing to try and draw a captive audience from a similar category to come across. This again is another topic I could spend probably a solid hour talking on, and I would recommend you do your own independent research on it, as well as come back and ask questions when you have them. Another thing that you can do to increase your sales is understanding the market. And I know that sounds a little bit heavy to take on board, but if you're dealing in an item or category that no one really wants, you can't expect your sales to be great. And the reason I say that is that I've seen some stores that have some stuff that I don't think I would ever buy, and I don't know anyone who would buy those items either. And when I'm sent to go review those stores, I have to break the hard news that a lot of it is unfortunately thrift store tat that I don't think anyone is going to want. So what are some of the categories that people are going after? Cell phones is one of the biggest ones. Video games, consumer electronics, even brand new releases on books, movies, media, etc. Understanding where the market is at today, making your purchases to reflect that, and then getting them listed online is one of the best ways to increase your sell-through online. Making sure you have quality items. And the last two bits that I want to leave you with, which again require their own entire video, offer free shipping on your listings. I'll break it down for you, I already broke it down for you in my pricing video. Free shipping is one of the best methods to increase your sales, and you can offer free shipping without losing any money. And if that sounds wacky, again, you must watch my other videos. I would actually personally recommend that if you are a serious seller and you're interested in becoming very good at this, you go back through and you watch my entire catalog. Maybe not all my Sunday shows are a little long-winded, but they're great content to put on in the background while you're doing your listing. You can sit there and get smarter while you're working. Even myself, you can see all the editing that we are doing from this video. I am 100% self-taught from the internet. You have the opportunity right now to use that same internet to become a better seller. Do not waste this opportunity to increase your revenue. It might not just be for you, it might be for your partner, it might be for your family. The amount of time you put into getting good at this will be a direct correlation of the results you get out on the back end. Forgive my motivational tangent, it's something that I do on my show. The last thing I want to bring up is fast handling. If someone can get their item delivered out in one day, same day, 2 days, they are going to be more inclined to buy the item. And guess what? eBay actually ranks those listings higher based on where the buyer lives. If eBay can ensure that the experience is going to be a smooth one and the seller has a combination of both good feedback, they are close to the consumer, and they have the exact item they want, eBay will use this information to run the listing higher up. Well, guys, did I tell you something that you didn't know today, or did I just simply rattle off all the details you already did? This has been one of my most requested videos since I started on YouTube a couple of years ago. And if you enjoyed this content, guys, I'm going to ask you for a few favors. One, click the subscribe button. It's completely free. If you don't have a Gmail account, make a Gmail account. It takes 30 seconds. You can subscribe to my channel. It would really help me out with what I'm doing. It allows other people, through the power of SEO, to be served my video content so that they too can become smarter because of this video. Also, liking the video does the same thing, and the best thing you can do, if you enjoy the free exchange of intelligent information and powerful discourse to help improve your online presence and your e-commerce sell-through, let somebody know about what we're doing, and even consider checking out the links down below where you can join our Patreon, be a part of a fantastic community of educated sellers who talk to each other 24 hours a day to ensure that we have some of the best stores online. Come check us out. We'd love to have you. And remember, if you don't make that money, someone else will. Have a great day.